If you enjoy the old SimCity games, you may really get a kick out of new cities. If you enjoy my content, my videos, please do click the bell icon below
Ding.
to make sure that they make it over to your feed. And as far as this guy goes, don't worry about him. He's fine. Hey everybody, Weem here. Welcome to New Cities. This is a game I thought I would bring it to your radar because it's crossed mine recently. Looked really fun. I picked it up yesterday via Indiegogo, of which I'll have links down in the description if you're interested in picking it up soon. And yeah, so here we are. I thought I'd show a little bit off. We're going to jump right into the action though as I kind of get to filling you in on this thing. So the developer describes this as a city builder that celebrates the simulation titles of yesteryear with a classic gameplay and a fresh coat of paint. And so if you're familiar with the older versions of SimCity, for example, this is going to be familiar to you in that way. And if you enjoyed those games from then, I think you'll get a kick out of this one. I actually just picked it up and I really couldn't put it down last night. So I want to show you one of the really cool features of this. You can build top down like this, but you have a lot of control over the camera and it really changes the perspective. What I mean by that is you can see we've got these square grids, but if we kind of bring the camera down here, I'll zoom in here a bit, you could see that there's actually height to this, right? We've got mountains and everything, and it really changes the perspective. Once we get some buildings in and everything, you will really get an idea of what I'm talking about there, but let's do that. We're gonna, first things first, we're gonna bring this guy up and go to value. We've got higher property value along the beaches and in some other areas as well. So this is just gonna help me kind of determine where I'm gonna get started as I kind of show you some of the features of this game. So the point of me playing at this point right now is just to kind of show you some of these things, give you an idea for what the game is about. I'm still quite new to it, so I can't teach you a whole lot, but let's go ahead and start getting down some roads. I'm gonna start with a larger street here with the avenue, and I want to run this kind of along here. Now, one of the things, I've seen a number of videos and screenshots from the game, and it's very easy to fall into, for good reason, to fall into the trap of doing everything really square and rigid like on grids. If I zoom in here really close, you see we have some thick lines here. They've got a grid down. You can only snap roads to these points and, you know, along these lines, obviously, which kind of lends itself. You kind of almost naturally just want to build in a grid. I actually like things to be a bit more fluid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an avenue down and I'm going to run it kind of along this beach area, but I don't want it to be super straight. So let's do that first. We're going to go kind of at this angle. So you can see we've jumped about 3 spaces in this direction and over 1. And then I'm going to do maybe 1 here. I could do another one that's like, you know, 2 down and 1 up. And that's, you know, we kind of create a curve in this way. I'm going to actually, I could do a straight shot here for a little bit. Let's get a better angle over here. Okay, I think we'll go like this to here. Maybe here. As you can see, I'm just kind of making a variation in how I'm angling this in order to get this kind of bend that I want. Now, would I love for this game for you to actually be able to freehand draw roads and everything? Sure, that'd be awesome. And maybe that's planned. I haven't dug too deep into the future features or potential features of this game. So who knows? That may already be on the agenda, but let's keep going with this avenue and get this laid out. Again, largely just to show you how the grid works and how snapping roads down works. So anyway, there I've got this kind of road here that's not really adhering to the grid. If I pan back down again, we got the mountains in the back. We got a little bit of a lake here. So that's pretty cool. Now let's zoom in here. We've got the road. You can actually see we get street name on here. We have, this is Arizona. I think the streets are largely named after cities. When I've paid attention to that, that seems to be the case. Cities or states or things like that. So anyway, that's a cool start. Let's go ahead and grab some normal roads here. I am paused, although we don't need to be. Let me just play at kind of the regular speed here. So before I start putting down the smaller roads, let's talk about this. One of the things they suggest in this game is that you build, I'm going to jump over here to these zones. When you're doing farms, they say they occupy a lot of space, so consider the bigger lines and not filling in roads in the middle. When it comes to residential, you know, there you'll want to get down to the nitty gritty and putting streets along those grids. That's kind of their suggestion. You don't have to follow that, but anyway, so we're going to adhere to that. I'm going to go ahead and flesh this out a bit and we'll continue. So before I get too far, I thought I would just kind of bring you back here and give you the general idea. You can see them. This almost looks like ribs, but I really like things to not be super uniform, especially in the early areas. And then I think when it comes to farmlands, we may get kind of more grid-like. And then in maybe some what ends up being more dense areas, I may also adhere to a stronger grid. But anyway, I like to kind of get this curved out. To show you how these intersections work, we've got a number of different points we can click on, and then we can snap to some different points of the road over here. So we can, for example, connect those up and connect this up. And it's really forgiving as far as traffic goes, at least for now. You don't have to, you can have long roads end, if I come out here, for example, and this not cause too much of a problem with traffic, I've noticed. Perhaps over time, if I've played long enough, I would start to run into issues, but I've noticed that you don't end up, for example, with cars piled up at a dead end and with nowhere to go. So you don't have to always concern yourself with looping things back. But anyway, yeah, we've got this kind of started. Now, again, talking about some of those older games like the earlier versions of SimCity, and I kind of touched on this before. We have the residential, we have retail, I almost said commercial, agricultural, and then we have industrial. And there's even going to be some new ones that pop up over time as we progress. So anyway, one of the interesting things about this is you do not have to worry about water, you don't have to worry about electricity, and you can see that it basically wants to just put these plots down and they will start building automatically. We have a need for residential, so we can actually, I can actually just hold my mouse and just drag, and you can see it starts popping these in there. Really quick and easy. So one of the cool features of this game is it's easy to rapidly set up cities. It can get expensive if you're throwing tons of roads down. But otherwise, if you're kind of watching your budget and everything, a lot of this stuff really starts coming in pretty quickly. We can speed this up a little bit more, and we'll get more of these coming in. But let's kind of back out here a bit, because farmland is very important. That and the residential seem to always be needed. So I want to plan for that. And if we're talking about this size grid for the farm areas, I don't want to occupy all of this like highly valuable area, because they tend to be kind of polluting and everything. They lower the value of the land. So if I were to look at it or consider it from that perspective, maybe somewhere over here is good. It's a bit far. I could do it out here. Let's actually pan this down, because I want to see how much of a hill. So there is no hill really. It's pretty flat there. That definitely plays a role in kind of the some complications as far as roads go and everything. So let's go ahead and get that going. Now we have this cool avenue going here. I'm trying to think if I want to shoot an avenue back into this area. I think I will. It does tend to be a bit more expensive, but let's take a look at what this would cost. We're at 255K. We have 7.6 million, which you can see in the upper left. So I think I'm okay with that. And yeah, I think we'll stick with that. Let's grab some streets and we'll run this kind of along this line. What's that? 180K. So we can get some of these going. Here. We'll go to here. And there. Okay, let me go back here and look at value. So this would start to creep into some of this area that actually has higher value. So I could destroy the road. I think instead what I will do is just, well, the farm is going to try and go all the way out. It's going to follow that. I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of do this over here for now. So we're going to go here, 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 and here. So that'll get some of that going. But again, the demand is usually pretty high for both that and residential. So I don't think, even if I filled in this entire area out here, it still, from my previous experience, wouldn't satisfy that demand. Let's get some more residential going in here. Let's grab streets. We want to connect these guys up. Again, I kind of like to just do this, like not following the grid necessarily. So you can do some other cool things too. I like doing like this kind of stuff. Have these like cul-de-sacs, and we can do a small one here. Lots of opportunities to do these kinds of things like so. And you can run into some problem running roads along the beach, so I'm not going to try and do anything there. This is the end of our avenue. Maybe what I'll do is I'll kind of loop this a bit. Can we do that to here, to here? I'm going to try and just loop this back. Again, not necessary, at least at this stage of development in the game, but anyway, I think that's cool. And then we'll connect this here. And you can always bring up, for example, the residential and mouse it around and see how much space. That's quite a bit of empty space in there. So I'm going to kind of go to there. Now let's just go ahead and fill this in really quick. I'm going to just kind of do this. The lazy weem dragon. I'm going to kind of fill all of this in and see where that puts us. I don't expect it to make a huge dent in the residential demand, but it'll be something. And then maybe we'll get some kind of commercial out in this area, but you get the idea as far as placing this stuff down. It's very easy to get the roads down. You can actually adjust elevation and everything pretty easily. If I went and took the avenue, you can see that Q and Z is kind of up-down arrow. So as I hit Q, 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 I could do a road that's like raised up. I could then lower it down, right? They make that pretty easy. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and flesh this out even more, and we'll see where things are at. As you can see, I added a section for residential. I thought this might be a good commercial spot. I only put a few in because I've noticed in my previous runs, my very short runs, just testing things out, that the retail demand drops very quickly. So I only put these two in and it already dropped some. So we're going to let that sit. Residential is still high, of course. I did add some more farmland out here, so we've got that going. And it does ask for industrial, and I put a row out here, but I haven't dug deep enough into the game to understand what helps the industrial grow. So for me, it doesn't do a whole lot just yet, but anyway, that's something that I will figure out at some point. You can see we get messages on the right side here. Village, 1,000 people live here. There are officially more human residents than bovine. And then they'll give you kind of a next achievement. You can build a school when you hit 5,000. This gives a hint. Retail zones at important intersections and along major thoroughfares. There will not be a lot of retail demand until the city grows larger, so use it sparingly, which we've done. We got our first farm notification, the first house. Let's see. Hint for agricultural zones. Place roads along the grid lines. That's the big lines. As I was mentioning before, residential, they basically say do it along the dots. Those are things we talked about. Zones. So this is all kind of our intro stuff. I can actually just kind of click through, close these. Now, there are other elements to this game as well so far. We can actually jump into here and look at different things. I was looking at the value before. That's something that we looked at. But we also have prosperity is a thing we can look at, density, traffic, and you can see that maybe we got a little bit going on here. We'll zoom in here and take a peek. So we may have had a little bit of a hang up, but mostly you can see the lights, and that really stands out. When you look at traffic mode, you can see like, whoa, there's a whole huge backup. So right now it's not too bad. Crime, of course, pollution, and education. Eventually you put schools down, you can put police departments down. That fixes crime and education, things like that. And there's various relationships with things too, as far as like what kinds of workers the farm stuff is looking for. I assume that goes for retail as well. We can also dive in here and individually select things. So this is a thing that's already in. I couldn't remember if you could do it on cars or not. I'm not getting it to go. But you can click houses, for example. Oh, maybe that's why I didn't have one selected. There we go. So now we're following this guy. We could delete it. It's at an intersection. It's Lupe Lee going to the store. Or we can kind of pan down and click on a house. It's the Gray household. We can see their taxes and everything and start to see what they're looking to do. I had somebody looking for a job, for example. So anyway, these kinds of things are already in the game, which is really cool. Let me zoom in here. So we have Pomona Street, Ann Arbor. As I mentioned, kind of location names they use. Salt Lake for the roads and everything. It's pretty cool. Look at that view. It was raining a second ago and now it started snowing. Another thing about this game, there is weather. Snow will eventually cover the ground, which is pretty cool. But anyway, this is kind of what I was talking about at the opening as far as perspective goes. You can get down here and really see the topography. You can see the height to mountains in the distance. And it's just a really interesting perspective for a game like this. Very unique and very cool. I like it quite a bit. So yeah, I kind of fleshed out even more residential area here. If we kind of pan out, hopefully don't make you dizzy. We've got all of this is kind of new residential area. I threw a little bit commercial in, and I'm noticing now I threw this industrial in. I was like, let me just put some close to this, and that seems to be doing good. Let me, I'm gonna pan over, because you can see I put rows of it over here, or actually just the one here, and maybe it's not near enough to like retail or residential, and that's what it needed. But there we go. We've actually got some popping in here. You learn something new every day. So I'm gonna actually click on one of these, and we can see that it's an industrial building. This has got the street name. I was kind of wondering if it'd tell us what the business was. What do they do? But perhaps not. What if we go to this one? Okay, it just says industrial building, just kind of general, but that's okay. Very cool. So we also have money. Let me show you some of the budget stuff. Even though I don't have a great handle on this yet, you can drag the slider for property tax. You have the line of credit and everything. Yeah, basically get your financials here. The years will start to stack up over time. You'll get those as columns and everything. And so it's pretty cool that a lot of this stuff is in right now. If I remember correctly, the game started by the developer as a project for kind of just a traffic management thing, and then he continued adding kind of features to it, and it kind of, you know, before his eyes was turning into a city builder, and so he kind of kept fleshing it out that way. So on Indiegogo, he had a goal of 10,000, which I know just they went over that yesterday, I think. But that is the place to get the game. Again, I'll have links down in the description, but I think, actually, before I say I'm going to leave it at that, there is one other feature I want to show you, even though it's still pretty new to me. I haven't played with it too much. Okay, so here is that feature, and it is the building designer, which is pretty cool. So when you actually lay down your zones, these guys here, you don't really get to choose the buildings. You can, there are specific buildings you get to place, for example, the police department or the college. But otherwise, the buildings that pop in for these different types are kind of random and can grow over time. But here you could actually jump in here and edit this. So you can create, you know, your own new creations. And then my assumption is that there's just some you know, percent chance that they show up in the game, which I think is pretty cool. So you can actually kind of move these things around. You see, you can grab these kind of things and drag them. We can actually choose barrel and click in here, and that adds a new one. You can, you know, kind of increase these sizes and everything, and you'll see it changes the size of the area that it needs to occupy. That's a pretty big building. So we can actually kind of continue placing things in here. There's also trees and fences and things like that. So you can get kind of detailed with this, which I think is pretty cool. Adding that kind of level of customization there. It's pretty sweet. Okay, one more feature before I leave that I definitely wanted to show you, but forgot until I jumped back onto this side of things. There is a blueprint mode in this game already, which is awesome. A lot of games like this in the early stages, it's a feature they want to do, or you kind of think, man, I'd love to have like blueprint stuff, and gonna have to wait. But this one's actually in right from the beginning. We can actually select new, come into here, and we can, let's see, make sure I have that selected. So we got the blue square, and then we can drag and select an area. And then, actually, I think it's just click. Basically, you don't have to drag. And then let go. And you can see our cursor now is this area. So we can kind of go place this anywhere. You can even overlap things. We could drop it right in the center here, and it would really, it'd connect up all the roads, and it would end up getting rid of some houses, but they would likely pop back in. Or you can move them up into this area, which is, you know, kind of how I would imagine you would be doing. You select kind of a area that you like, and then just kind of pasting it down, and everything is pretty cool. We can also raise and lower the elevation of it, which I had not played with, so I said let me click that here and see. So you can kind of raise that up. That's pretty cool. Not that we would want to get too crazy with that. And we've got a save button here, and I have not messed with this either, so we've got these kind of saved up in here, I guess is where they're showing up. That's cool. And I believe these carry through to your other saves as well. But anyway, I just thought I would kind of show you that really quick. Well, that about wraps it up. As I mentioned at the top, I just kind of wanted to bring you in here and show you this game, because I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun, especially this early, and it may not have been on your radar, so I thought, let me let you guys know about it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. If this looks interesting to you, if you played the older SimCity games and enjoyed those, you know, does this look cool to you? I think there's so much potential for this. It's so early, and I know we talk about potential a lot with new games that aren't finished yet, but there's a lot of cool features in here for it being so early. So I have high hopes for what's coming in the future. But I do want to thank you guys for stopping by. As always, I really appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit the bell icon down below if you'd like to see more things like this. That's the pretty much the only way to make sure you get my videos sent to you, if that's what you would like to have happen. Otherwise, thanks again, and I will catch you guys next time.